Welcome to Dialogues for Change. Life is not a void to be filled, it is a plenitude to be discovered. Today I would like to share with you some interesting thoughts from the book Black Athena, The Afro-Asian Roots of Classical Civilization by Bernal. It is about how our traditions of knowledge that allow us to understand things sometimes also do not allow us to see certain things. Fundamental challenges to disciplines tend to come from outside. It is customary for students to be introduced to their fields of study gradually, as slowly unfolding mysteries, so that by the time they can see the subject as a whole, they have been so thoroughly imbued with conventional preconceptions and patterns of thought that they are extremely unlikely to be able to question its basic premises. This incapacity is particularly evident in the disciplines concerned with ancient history. The reasons seem to be, first, that their study is dominated by the learning of difficult languages, a process that is inevitably authoritarian. One may not question the logic of an irregular verb or the function of a particle. At the same time as the instructors lay down their linguistic rules, however, they provide other social and historical information that tends to be given and received in a similar spirit. The intellectual passivity of the student is increased by the fact that these languages have generally been taught during childhood. While this facilitates learning and gives the scholars thus trained an incomparable feel for Greek or Hebrew, such men and women tend to accept a concept, word or form as typically Greek or Hebrew, without requiring an explanation as to its specific function or origin. The second reason for inhibition is the near or actual religious awe felt in approaching classical or Jewish cultures, which are held to be the founts of Western civilization. Thus, there is a reluctance to use profane analogies to provide models for their study. The great exception to this has been in folklore and mythology, where since the times of James Frazer and Jane Harrison at the turn of the 19th century, there has been considerable comparative work. Nearly all this, however, has stayed within the bounds set in the 1820s by the man who destroyed the ancient model, Karl Ottfried Müller. Müller urged scholars to study Greek mythology in relation to human culture as a whole, but was adamantly opposed to recognizing any specific borrowings from the East. When it comes to higher culture, there has been an even greater reluctance to see any precise parallels. The situation is at its most extreme, however, in the realms of language and names. Since the 1840s, Indo-European philology, or study of the relationships between languages, has been at the heart of the Aryan model. Then, as now, Indo-Europeanists and Greek philologists have been extraordinarily reluctant to see any connections between Greek, on the one hand, and Egyptian and Semitic, the two major non-Indo-European languages of the ancient East Mediterranean, on the other. There is no doubt that if Egyptian, West Semitic and Greek had been the languages of three important contiguous tribes in the modern Third World, there would have been extensive comparative study, after which most linguists would have concluded that they might well be distantly related to each other, and that there had certainly been considerable linguistic and presumably other cultural borrowings among the three people. Given the deep respect felt for Greek and Hebrew, however, this type of crude comparative work is felt to be inappropriate. Outsiders can never have the control of detail gained so slowly and painfully by experts. Lacking a full understanding of the background complexities, they tend to see simple-minded correspondences between superficial resemblances. This does not mean, however, that the outsiders are necessarily wrong. Heinrich Schliemann, the German tycoon who first excavated at Troy and Mycena in the 1870s, made a naive but fruitful conjunction of legends, historical documents, and topography, showing that much as academics might like it to be so, the obvious is not always false. Another tendency among professionals is to confuse what I would call the ethics of a situation with its reality. While it is only fair that the expert who has spent a lifetime trying to master a subject should know better than a brash newcomer, this is not always the case. The latter sometimes has the advantage of perspective, the ability to see the subject as a whole and to bring outside analogies to bear on it. Thus, one encounters the paradoxical situation that while amateurs are usually unable to help scholarly advance within a model or paradigm, they are often the best people to challenge it. These are very, very important insights. I mean, the whole book is very worth reading. Black Athena, the Afro-Asian roots of classical civilization. And it brings home the point that sometimes our knowledge systems also shut out a lot of very important and vital information and become, in a certain way, instead of a way of liberating ourselves, of expanding our awareness, ways to indoctrinate ourselves, to imprison ourselves in rigid forms. I hope that these thoughts inspired you on this Sunday, 13th of May, 2012. Thank you.